Hi guys, as we know, Brexit isn't going very well, and therefore there have been meetings taking place between senior members of both the Labour Party and the Conservatives about making things work. Later this month, senior diplomats within the European Union are to be invited to an event in the south of England, but we have very little detail on what that will contain. But Taoiseach Leo Varadkar spoke to Bloomberg recently, where he was asked about Brexit and the possibility of the United Kingdom rejoining the EU. The head of the Irish government poured cold water on the idea, but believes that improvements can be made through the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement signed a few years ago. Well, is he right?
One thing I would still hope for, and it's not impossible in my view, is that in the future, a future British government, maybe not the next one, maybe not the one after that, will seek a closer relationship with the European Union again. That mightn't be rejoining. I think that's a remote prospect, but it might involve a revision of the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, to have a closer relationship, and that's something that the door will always be open to.
So the door will always be open to a closer relationship with Europe. Now, so when he talked here about the TCA being up for review, it's up for review in 2025, and I think it's important for people to remember that it will not be a renegotiation. It will be both sides coming together and looking at what worked and what didn't work, and improving on what didn't work, if both sides agree to it, of course. The EU seems to be pretty happy with the TCA, so there's no incentive for the European Union to renegotiate the TCA. So I think it's important for people to remember this as we get closer to 2025. Now, before 2025, it seems we're going to have a replacement on both sides. The UK is going to have an election, general election, and you're probably going to see the Labour Party in power. And on the European side, there will be a new commission. So the people who will be reviewing this will not be the same people as we have today, which could make it interesting, to say the least. Now, what about rejoining the European Union? This is the big issue. He poured cold water, as I said, on this. He doesn't believe it's going to happen. He said it's quite remote. I think it's extremely remote in the short term, but I think ultimately the UK, or whatever's left of it, in 10-15 years will rejoin, because that's where the action is. We saw with the Pacific trading bloc, or trade deals around the world, these don't make up for the loss in trade with the European Union, and being part of the single market is hugely beneficial to both the single market and the United Kingdom. So it makes sense for the UK to rejoin, economic sense and political sense. We saw during the pandemic, as what's happening with the war in Ukraine, unity is extremely important, and being outside of the European Union, being outside the single market, is extremely damaging to the economy. And as more and more people understand this, and more people support the UK rejoining, we just have to wait for the politicians to catch up. And I think what's going to happen after the victory of the Labour Party, which is, it's not guaranteed, but it's looking more and more likely, I think you're going to start to see a push to have a better relationship with Europe. It's starting already, but I think it's going to be turbo boosted by the Labour Party. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.